Welcome to This Week in Orthodoxy, the world's only online video newscast focused on events in the life of the Orthodox Church. I'm Emmy Louveris. These are some of the stories making headlines this week. New study finds Christians are the most persecuted group in the world. Bulgarian Orthodox Church is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and Daesh militants overtake a Christian church to train their young recruits. First up, if the world hates you, realize that it hated me first. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. John chapter 15, verses 18 through 20. Christians, according to a new study, are the most persecuted religious group in the world. How serious is the problem? Researchers at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary Center for the Study of Global Christianity report around 90,000 Christians were killed in 2016. Of those, 30%, or around 27,000, were killed in terror attacks, destruction of their villages, or government persecution. The remaining deaths were attributed to tribal conflicts in Africa in which Christians, for reasons of conscience, were unwilling to take up arms against their enemies. The statistical analysis will be released in its entirety next month. And next up, the Bulgarian Orthodox Church is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. From 1943 to 1945, around 48,000 Jews living in Bulgaria were rescued from the grips of the Nazi terror, thanks in part to Bulgarian Parliament's Deputy Speaker Dimitar Peshev, Metropolitan Stefan, Exarch of the Bulgarian Church, Metropolitan Kezia Vratsa, and Metropolitan Kirill of Plovdiv, later to become the Patriarch. They convinced then Tsar Boris III to defend his Jewish population. The Holocaust trains arrived on March 10, 1943, but the planned deportation never took place. Since 2003, March 10th is known in Bulgaria as the Day of the Salvation of the Bulgarian Jews. Now the Bulgarian Orthodox Church has been nominated for a second time for the Nobel Peace Prize. As the Bulgarian Patriarchate site reports, the nomination was officially submitted to the Nobel Committee in early January at the initiative of the former Israeli Minister of Health and Deputy General Dr. Ephraim Schneck, Haifa University law professor Moshe Keshet, and attorney Moshe Aloni, boasting the signatures of over 200 surviving Bulgarian Jews who had been rescued. Many individuals risked their own lives to heroically save Jews from death and persecution during the Second World War, but the Bulgarian Orthodox Church was the only religious institution in territories under Nazi control to officially declare a position in support of the Jewish population. The Church's consistent position, based on the perfect love which casts out all fear and lays down its life for another, inspired the Bulgarian public to resist the implementation of laws discriminatory against their Jewish neighbors. The winner of this year's Nobel Peace Prize will be announced in October. And from SputnikNews.com in Moscow, Daesh militants have turned the main Christian church in the Iraqi town of Tal Kaif into a base for training young recruits, the local media reported last Monday. The Ruda news agency cited an eyewitness that children trained were about 15 years old. Jihadists used this church to train the caliphate's children, knowing that the Iraqi Air Forces and the U.S.-led International Coalition Air Forces would not bomb churches where civilians could be located, the news agency added. Daesh jihadists have destroyed and burnt most Christian churches in the town. However, this church still stands despite the fact that the militants have left the area, according to the eyewitness. Outlawed in Russia and the United States as well as many other countries, the radical group has become notorious for its brutal acts of terrorism and human rights atrocities. The battle to retake Mosul from Daesh began in October 2016. About 90% of the eastern part of the city has been recaptured by the Iraqi government forces, while the western part is still in the hands of the terrorist group. And from OCN, Making our revolutionary apps accessible to all smartphone users has been our latest endeavor. Over the last few weeks, we've asked our viewers, listeners, and myocn.net visitors like you to help us raise funds to create a new suite of Android apps, and you have delivered. Supporters have donated a little over $19,000 towards the $25,000 needed to get the job done. Spark and the Orthodox prayer book apps are being downloaded an average of 50 times a day, and that's without 82% of smartphone users having accessibility. Can you imagine how many more people will have access to Spark and the Orthodox prayer book in support of their daily faith walk once this is completed? Let's make Orthodoxy go mobile. Help us fill the gap. Make a contribution today where your donation will specifically support us in raising the $25,000 necessary to create a new suite of Android apps. Log on to our state-of-the-art website at myocn.net and click the donate button, then take a moment to share it on social media with the hashtag GoMobile so others are inspired to support OCN too. And that brings another edition of This Week in Orthodoxy to a close. Wishing you a blessed week. For everyone here in our OCN studios, I'm Emily Veris. Let's go forth in peace.